With these cameras, I can live cut a multicam sequence simply by tapping on the angle I want. It records the final sequence edited for you directly to your iPad. You can also stream from this app, so I can tap on the angle I want live, and it can go to Facebook, YouTube live, and because there's RTMP, you can also put it to Instagram live as well. You have full creative control of the camera wirelessly through the app here, all the color, the contrast. You're even able to zoom in without having to even touch the camera. These cameras communicate with the iPad wirelessly, so you can just move them around, put them wherever you want without the need for cables. So if you host a podcast or a live stream, or you need to live stream an event and have multiple angles and just be able to cut it live, not have to edit it later, this might be something you're interested in. So these are in fact mirrorless cameras. You can change the lenses out. These are the Logitech Mevo Cores. Logitech are the sponsor of today's video. They have a micro four thirds sensor in them, meaning you can use any micro four thirds lens. Underneath this little flap at the back, there is an HDMI port there, so you can output to a monitor if you wanted to. And there is also a micro SD card there for recording internally to the camera. Super simple design to turn on. If you click the button on the back there, that actually shows you the battery level of each unit. And to turn it on, just click and hold it. It turns on there and it's trying to connect. We just need to add the camera. Tap add down here, camera. It's going to find this camera. There you go. It's found it. Tap connect, and it's going to connect the device. From here, it'll appear there, and now I have both angles live inside my iPad here. To change the angle, it's simply a case of just tapping on the one you want. The red box indicates the live angle. Now you are going to notice that there is a bit of latency between when I move the camera and then when you see it live. I have it set that way. It's because my Wi-Fi in the studio here isn't the best just yet. If you go down to the three icons here, you can click video source latency and change this depending on your Wi-Fi speed. So if you have ultra fast Wi-Fi, you can go with an ultra low latency, or if yours isn't the best, standard or high latency is just going to make it a little bit more consistent for you. Now, in terms of what you're going to be actually doing with these cameras, three different things. If you want to live stream something, you can tap on live just here. From here, you have options. Now, I already have set up my YouTube channel here, but if you wanted to add a destination to go live, you just tap add destination here, and you have Facebook, YouTube, Vimeo, X, Twitch. You literally tap on it and then you attach your account and you're able to go live on that platform immediately. And because it has RTMP, that means you can actually go live from your own choice of platform or software if you wanted to as well, or from Instagram live. You need to get your RTMP server URL and your stream key, which for Instagram, you would do by going onto Instagram.com on a computer, and you can get it from there. Once you've added that in, you can then just go straight live on Instagram. Now, once you have all your accounts hooked up, you can just literally tap on the stream that you want to have, everything you've loaded in here. So if you have your Facebook account in there, your YouTube account, you can tap on that, hit go live, and you're going to be immediately live. And then you can go back to your main page. And here's where you just pick the angle that is actually going out to the world on that stream. Now, the other thing that you can do is record a multicam sequence. So you can just cut live and pick the angles, pick your sound inputs, everything like that. We'll talk more about sound in a bit, but you do that by just tapping on the record there. Now, you have a bunch of options in here when it comes to what settings you want to use. The maximum quality that you can record internally to the iPad is 1080p, but you can record safety backup angles internally to each camera. Now, it's not going to cut that multicam sequence and export that to your camera roll for you, but it's going to have a backup angle in 4K 30 frames per second. That's the maximum you can record. You can specify and change that quality in there if you wanted to as well. I did a little test the other day, so let's take a look at that. So let's live cut a little multicam sequence and record directly internally to my iPad here using both cameras which are connected. I've got one off camera just here with the built-in mic, and then the one from the back here has my wireless mic attached to it. So let's go ahead and tap record. We want it to record internally 1080p plus to the iPad, the maximum we can, and then a backup angle at 4K 30 frames per second to each camera internally, just in case we needed that. It also shows me that I have 9 minutes left of recording to the iPad, so we better hurry up. We're going to tap start recording. Now, right now the audio is going into this camera, but we're viewing this angle. We can swap to that angle simply by tapping there, and now we have the rear angle of me. But let's say we want to swap to the audio from this camera. We can just do that by tapping. And now we have the internal 3-mic array from the camera right here. This is what that sounds like from about 3.5 feet away. Let's swap back to the internal lapel mic because my studio is very echoey. It still hasn't been sound treated yet. So now we're back on the mic just here, and if we want to tap on this angle, turn around, now we have the internal audio from this camera and the angle from this camera. But we can go back to this one right here just by tapping on the iPad. And that is essentially a multicam sequence cut live, recorded directly to the iPad. We can stop the recording by just tapping stop recording. And it saves it to my camera roll. It lets me know when it's done. We can click on it and watch it immediately. Audio is going in. Now I didn't have an opportunity to test this one because I don't use NDI, but if you want to send your signal out from the iPad, you can do so over NDI as well, which you do by tapping on out just there, and then that brings up this menu for you. Let's set up one of these cameras on a tripod out of frame. So we're using the 14-42 Olympus lens, which is a power zoom lens. And that's the angle now that you're seeing right here. You're gonna have to just deal with the latency. Unfortunately, I apologize for my Wi-Fi speed. Now you'll see that it's actually out of focus right now. If you tap the 3 dots there, you have some options here. You can reorder, remove, image control, and camera settings. If you click on camera settings there, there's a bunch of things that you can see there, including your NDI settings, action button if you don't have it attached to this app. The camera can just record internally to an SD card. So if you want to use it as like just a regular camera attached to a monitor, you could do that as well. But the one we're caring more about right now is image control. Now these cameras don't have autofocus or continuous autofocus in them. To focus, you need to double tap and it will focus on that part of the image. So now you can see that I am in focus with this camera right here, which you're viewing on this angle right here. You can manually focus as well just by dragging the slider here, but probably for the most part, you're going to be double tapping on where you want it to focus and have that in focus. Now, the other thing that you can do if you tap just here is you can crop into a specific part of the image. So let's say do 2 fingers there. I want to crop right into my face and output just what's inside that box. If I tap done, this is now the output window, which is just that cropped box. If I tap once here, it shows you the part of the frame that is cropped. You can move that around if you wanted to. And if you want to just have that full screen again, you just tap those arrows right there. Now, if you're used to using mirrorless cameras, which if you're watching this channel, you probably are, along the bottom here, you have a bunch of controls. You have your aperture, your zoom control there, because this is a power zoom lens. So I can just slide the slider here and it will zoom in. We can go back out all the way to 14. Control over my exposure, which right now I have set to auto. If I wanted to change to the other angle, which is not really doing anything right now, you can do that right from in there as well. Advanced exposure, if you want a little bit more control over that. Your white balance control, brightness, contrast, saturation, presets. You have a bunch of different things that allow you to control the image to get exactly how you want it to look. Now, if you go into the advanced here, you also have options in terms of the orientation of the camera, because these do have mounting points on each side. So if you want to mount them upside down or on their side, you can control that there. You can also select it to auto, so it just detects for you. You have the option to display in HDR, and you also have electronic image stabilization in each camera if you needed to use these handheld for whatever reason. If you tap on settings there, you have options to format the memory card. This is essentially the same as when you go into camera settings. Now, this is obviously your main menu, but you also have 2 more icons along the bottom here. This one in the middle is going to be useful if you live stream or if you need to add motion graphics or things that appear on the screen when things happen, or a lower third title, or a picture-in-picture if you wanted to have 2 angles displaying at the same time. So like I keep swapping between this angle and then my above angle, you could do that live as well, have both angles displayed at the same time. Let's tap on that angle and then click next, and from here you have a bunch of options over that picture-in-picture. So if you tap on free placement there, you can move this around wherever you want. You can have the frame appear a little bit wider or less wide. You can pick the color of that frame, kind of like black better. Free placement, obviously move it around. You can have it square, circle, portrait, a bunch of different options over that. And you can make it bigger and smaller simply by dragging. So let's say I want to put it in the top corner just there, tap done. So now if we go back to my main screen here, I can pick on my main angle. Remember, this is the output image. I can tap here, tap on this to make that live, and you now see that that image appears in the top left of the screen there. So that's how you can add a picture-in-picture. If you wanted to, you could also go in and add graphics, so a full screen overlay, lower thirds. There's a bunch of different things you can go in there and play about with. If you click on audio, you'll also see that you're actually able to add your phone as a third camera if you wanted to, or a second camera if you only have one of the course. Right there, add your mobile device as a Mevo source to send video, screencast, and more to Mevo Multicam. Now that does require Mevo Pro. You'll also see down here audio controls. This right here is the output. So if you are recording internally to your iPad, this is how loud the sound is going to be. And then depending on how you want the audio to be configured, if you want it to come from both cameras or from one camera, you can just tap on the audio there to enable or disable it. It's just like a sound mixer essentially. Now, as you saw earlier, I did have a wireless mic plugged into these cameras. It's because they do have a 3.5mm jack on the back just there, so you can plug in your own audio source if you wanted to. But these do have a 3-mic array built directly into them if you wanted to just use the sound directly from these cameras. There's no removable battery inside these, but you get up to 6 hours when it's fully charged, but you can power it via USB-C as well. Each of these Mevo cores run for $9.99 US, available at B&H and Amazon, both US and Canada right now. There's links down below. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.